this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, you get to hear me ramble. I could not think of anything specific to talk about in this episode, so I get to monologue the entire time. But don't worry, we're going to be talking about something specific. I don't know, maybe GunCon, for example. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, episode 247, the GunCon Experience. Here we go. All right, like I mentioned in the intro, I had an incredibly difficult time. Actually, let's jump back. So the reason why you didn't get an episode last week was, first of all, we had a long drive home from Brownell's headquarters in Grinnell, Iowa. That's right. I drove, and I took my son with me. We drove to GunCon because I didn't want to fly because I'm a tight ass, I guess. I didn't want to spend the money. So what do? I spend the money in fuel instead. And hotel stays. And we're going to talk about this whole experience of driving to GunCon and driving back. So anyway, because you didn't get, the reason why you didn't get an episode last week was I technically got back Monday morning. Usually I try and record a show Sunday night. Sometimes it ends up being before, after, it just depends. But I got home at 1 o'clock, almost 2 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So I literally drove 19 hours without stopping. That is the most I've driven in one go. It was like 1,800 and something miles. Good time. It was a good time. My son and I had a lot of fun. Well, let's get into it. Why don't I just tell you a story? Maybe, grab your popcorn. I am actually going to pop open. This is concerning. No, I don't drink alcohol. This isn't alcohol. You guys that have been here a long time know exactly what this is. This is my favorite brand of ginger beer. It is definitely not a sponsor. I wish they were, because I've drank enough of their juice here. It's a product of Australia. It's called Bundaberg. Again, they're not a sponsor. I buy this my own self. But if you like ginger beer, it is the best damn ginger beer on the planet, and it's my last bottle. I'm a little concerned. So cheers. Let's just sit back and BS, shall we? I'm going to take a drink because I haven't had one in a while. It is so good. So good. Anyway, let's start off. So, the GunCon Experience. So, I had never been to GunCon before. I think you guys have known that. But a few months ago, John Patton from the Gun Collective had a post on Instagram saying, hey, we need content creators. There's some space. If you want to join in, let me know. So in a whim, I did not expect Mr. Patton himself to email me back. But I said, hey, I want to do it. Here's my email. And he emailed me back. Like, I was shocked. They must have been really desperate, I guess, for talent over there. It was a good time. I'm just teasing. Anyway, so we work it out. I actually saved up a little bit of money. I try not to have a lot of credit card debt or anything like that. So I saved up this certain amount of money over time, and that's the money I was going to use for the journey. And I honestly used every dime, but it wasn't much, and you're going to understand why here in a minute. So during the time, lots of emails back and forth. We figured things out. John was actually very, very helpful. Hold on, my camera looks a little crooked, doesn't it? I'm gonna beep. Watch, I knew that would happen. Hold, please. Technical difficulties. I really need to get some new equipment. We'll get into that a little later too. Anyway. I'll readjust this. See, the things I do for you guys, you really need to appreciate me. Thank me for my service, as they say, right? Anyway, so we email back and forth. John is super cool. Like, that guy is exactly the way he is on his videos, if you wondered. And if you guys don't know who John Patton is, look up the Gun Collective. You're going to see who he is. If you're looking where I'm looking, that where I'm looking right now, that's my screen so I can see what's going on. I'm rambling. And leading up, he is in constant communication with me, which is great. And I really, really appreciate it. like I say, he's a super cool guy, just like he is on his videos. So as that time comes closer, my son takes off a week of work. I take a week off of work, and we decide. So the event starts technically for content creators on Thursday night. The actual event open to the public is on Saturday. So Thursday night, all day Friday, basically all day Saturday. So we leave Tuesday morning. And the idea is we're going to drive to Casper, Wyoming, stay a night in Casper. Then we're going to drive to North Platte, Nebraska, stay a night in North Platte. And then finally, so that's Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday, we'll get to Grinnell. So that was the plan, and that was the plan that we executed. But I made some mistakes, and this is actually very embarrassing to me. Once this all broke down the way it did, I was extremely embarrassed for myself, because you're going to see why. So by now, if you follow me on my social media accounts, you had seen the video of the first hotel stay in Casper. Now, Casper, you're thinking, is beautiful, especially this time of year. A beautiful downtown Casper is just an amazing town. And there's no sarcasm at all in that statement whatsoever, not even a lot. So I used an online service to find all these hotels that I was staying at. Now, instead of doing it the right way and looking at price as well as ratings, I decided, because I was trying to be as frugal as possible and save as much money as possible, that I wanted to make the most out of my hard-earned money. Mistake number one. So I rent the hotel place. I rent a hotel room in Casper for the night that we talked about, Tuesday night, and then I rented a hotel for Wednesday night in North Platte, like we just talked about. We drive, we enjoy the drive, we'd make the most of it. It is actually a lot of fun. So I live in Southeast Idaho. So the way I have to get to Casper from where I live, there's a couple of options. I can either go down through a little town called Montpelier, and then come across from a town called Kemmerer, which is in Wyoming, and then across, into Casper, basically taking Interstate 80 most of the way. Or another option was to go up the Hoback Junction, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with this area or not. Just picture Jackson Hole, okay? And then there's two ways from, let's just say, Idaho Falls. That's basically where I'm at. Two ways from Idaho Falls to Jackson Hole. You can go up the Jackson Pass, which recently had an issue with the road collapsing, so I wasn't going to go that way. Or through the Hoback Junction, which goes up from Idaho Falls into around a reservoir called Palisades into Alpine, and then up the Hoback Junction, which follows the Snake River through a canyon, which is actually pretty awesome. Good river rafting if you're into that thing. So we go through the Hoback Junction, and then instead of going into Jackson, you got to take a junction, which takes you into basically Pinedale, if you know where I'm talking about. And then from Pinedale, it winds its way back into Interstate 80 and then into Casper. Beautiful drive for the most part. I'm sorry if you guys live in Pinedale or pretty much all of Wyoming. It's kind of boring. Once you get east of Hoback, maybe an hour, it's just kind of, like it's really, I guess Pinedale actually wasn't too bad. Pinedale was okay. So to be fair to Pinedale, once you get past east of Pinedale, that's when it starts getting, But since we'd left early in the morning, we left like 8 o'clock. The sun was out. We got to see all the scenery. There is a lot of landscape, as you go through there. I like the adventure side of driving. That was the other thing. When you fly, you don't really get to experience America. You kind of lose the relevance of how big each state really is. And I like adventure. I like having a good time. especially hanging out with my son. You can never have too much time with your family. I sacrifice way too much time away from my family. I need to take advantage of that as much as possible. So we're driving. He the original intent was I would drive a little bit, he would drive a little bit, but I enjoy driving. And when I'm driving new places, I am wide awake because I'm just soaking in the new of everywhere that we're going. So we eventually make it into Casper. Casper's an interesting town. We didn't drive around Casper at all, but it's kind of weird. There's like all these belt routes and like things to get you here and there, and so I had to use the maps on my phone to get to this hotel. Now, as we're getting into Casper, it didn't look too bad. It's all right. But as I'm following the map to the destination, it gets a little worse and a little worse, a little more industrial, a little less maintained, if you will. And I get to this freaking sketchy hotel. And maybe I'll upload the video so you can see what we're talking about. There, like when I got there, I was like, this can't be the place. There's just no way. Yeah, it was it. Once I looked at the sign on the building, and I'm like, shit, this is the hotel. It was gross. It was really, really gross. And there's some lessons here. Once I finish this section of the story, we're going to talk about some lessons here. So I pull into the parking lot. I mean, there's abandoned cars. There's like, you know how you watch some of these movies where the detectives are going to find these criminals that are hiding out in sketchy places, and there's like displaced people hanging out in front of their hotel rooms with no shirt on, smoking and drinking, and you can basically smell that part of the movie. That was exactly what this hotel was like. It was bad. It was really, really bad. So I go in and I check in, and oh my gosh, dude, it was like, I can't explain the smell. Like, picture like an ashtray that's been smoked in a lot, but set outside and it rained. And in the meantime, somebody left like a taco in there, as well as maybe a cheeseburger, and like the smell of the food and the wet ashtray and the medial body odor. That was the lobby, if you can call it a lobby. Yeah, it was gross. It was really bad. But I was like, hey, maybe it's not so bad. I'm saving money. This will be okay. It's just one night. So truly, it can't be that bad. I was wrong. So I park. We make sure we take everything out of the car, including like phone chargers that are plugged into like the cigarette lighters. I mean, the cords, anything that could be any kind of value in the hotel room, it goes. So I open the hotel room door, and what the smell of the lobby was like concentrated from this room. It was so gross. Like, you walk in there and you could just feel the grossness, right? Like, you just feel it. The air conditioner was rolling, and like, I swear it was just blowing mold spores into the room. You know that really wet, musty, like rotten wood smell? That was basically being blown in from this air conditioner. And by the way, it was hot, like, and muggy. And so like, you want the AC on, but the smell of the AC is so bad that it's worth sweating 15 pounds just not to die. Like, that was the point, right? So my son and I, we just kind of look at each other, and we can't say what we were thinking on here because I'll get canceled. But like, it is just so bad. Like, I can't I can't explain how bad it is. Like, there's no way for me to physically or verbally explain this without you being physically in the room bad. Like, bad. So we made the immediate decision. Number one, as soon as we wake up, we are gone. We're leaving as like 6 o'clock in the morning. We're out of here. Like, if we could leave at 5, we're out. We're gone. We also made a secondary decision that there is no way on God's green earth that we were going to sleep in the beds that they had there for us. No way. Not in a million years. Luckily, when I travel, I carry a military whoopee with me. By the way, best blankets you can buy. They're cool when they need to stay cool. They keep you warm if you need to stay warm. I don't know what witchcraft they do with the military whoobies. Get you a few. They're great even just to keep in your car. They're nice and small to pack, and they're just super versatile. Anyway, so I throw my whoopee on top of the bed. I don't take my shoes off. I don't take my socks off, obviously. I don't change my clothes. My son is the same way. You know it's bad when you do not take your shoes off. That's how bad it was. I turn off the air conditioner. I find a way to open the windows, which I think were supposed to be sealed shut, but I found a way to open it. I leave my concealed carry with my defensive flashlight and my spare mag very close to me. And I don't sleep very much because I am up probably every hour looking out the hotel window, making sure that people aren't interfering with my vehicle. And my son, like, we kind of take turns doing this. Now, it's worse for my son because I snore really bad, so he probably didn't get any sleep whatsoever. And it was bad. Did I tell you it was bad? Did I mention that? Clearly the worst hotel I have ever stayed at. And I have been to some gross hotels, but this was like a whole new level. Now here's the lesson to be learned from hotel number 1. Never, ever, ever compromise your security for the sake of saving a few bucks. I was so embarrassed the minute I walked into that lobby and I see a drug deal taking place on the sidewalk. I knew immediately I was a fool for renting this room. I'm not going to tell you the name of the hotel. We're not going to talk about that. I'm not going to rag on the hotel. People are trying to earn money or whatever. Don't save a few bucks and compromise your personal security. Don't do it. Okay? Lesson number 1. I was extremely embarrassed that I'm Mr. Firearms cool guy instructor, self-defense type, and I made a move like that. I'm an idiot. So that's not going to happen again. Lesson learned. It was a bad idea. Yeah. So, needless to say, as soon as we can get up, and now because we made the plan of not staying there very long, we didn't even brush our teeth. Like, it was so gross in this place that we did not unpack anything whatsoever. Nothing. Okay, everything stayed in the bag. I brought my cooler in. We had some drinks and some cookies and stuff in our cooler, little travel snacks, right? You got to have your tactical travel snacks. Nothing came out of the packaging that we brought it in. Nothing changed, right? We didn't eat. Well, that's not true. My wife made us a sandwich that was supposed to be for lunch, but we powered through the drive because I was saving money, and we ate the tuna fish sandwich, which we could not taste over the smell of the hotel room. It was incredible. So we did eat, but we went right to bed, and did not sleep very well. Now, here's the thing. I wake up in the morning and I go down to the lobby to check out right away. I'm pretty sure my son had everything in the car before I even made it to the lobby, which was only 30 feet away from the hotel room. And it's closed. I'm like, are you freaking kidding? Are you kidding me? And I misunderstood the sign. It said, no checkout till 11 or whatever, which really meant checkout, like you have to be checked out at 11. But the way the sign read, it was like, you can't check out till 11. And I was like, there's no effing way I'm staying in this place till 11 o'clock. No way. Luckily, I actually understood the sign, even though from sleep deprivation and toxic poisoning, that you had to be checked out by 11. So, but the thing was like everything was shut down. Like, how do I talk to somebody? But there was a doorbell, so I'm like, whatever, I'll ring it. And this incredibly sort of not so friendly lady helped me check out. She asked me questions that I didn't understand, and she treated me like I was the weird one, which maybe I was the anomaly, I guess, at this hotel. Anyway, we got out there as soon as humanly possible and back on the road again. Thankfully. Now the problem with I'll tell you, we'll get to the lingering problem with this hotel later. You probably already guessed it. So off we go to North Platte. Now there is so much country between Casper, Wyoming, and North Platte, Nebraska. And it was not what I expected. Not at all. I figured once we got, because I've driven from, to Denver, just outside of Denver for Blade Camp a couple years ago. And it seemed really flat and boring, which it is. Wyoming's pretty boring. Not a lot of people there. But really, it wasn't that bad. Like there was some interesting landscape. Like, so we go from I think it was from Casper. No, that was before. So before you get into Casper, like there's like the old Mormon Trail, and there's like these places called Martin's Cove, and like all these places. Like it's really pretty. These huge granite slabs of mountains, and like it is really intriguing landscape. And then you think about like the pioneers trekking across this, and like how did they do this? And if you don't know like the story of Martin, the handcart company, like they were in the middle of a snowstorm. Crazy. Anyway, completely different topic. So we go from Casper, and we're driving to Nebraska, and the way the map took us from Casper to Nebraska, which don't get me wrong, it was the quickest route, but it wasn't on the freeway, which I'm totally cool with actually, because I mentioned in the beginning, I like to explore. I like to see the country. So it took us down on these like byways through Nebraska and through eastern Wyoming that were like really cool. Like you almost see like some of the Badlands type landscape with the erosion and like layers of rock, and it was really actually kind of cool. And I can remember vividly, it took us through this little town called Chugwater, Nebraska, which I'm highly sure that movie was in the animated show Home on the Range. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, Chugwater. Dinky little town, middle of nowhere. And then like east through these scenic byways of Nebraska. And there is a lot of agriculture in Nebraska. Just so you guys know, maybe you knew already, there's not a lot of people, but a whole bunch of land. But it was still pretty neat. And we didn't even know we were in Nebraska because like it doesn't tell you. And until you look on your phone, you're like, oh, look at that, we're in Nebraska. So we take these scenic byways. It's far more hilly than we expected. Eventually we get back on I-80 and we cut across to North Platte. North Platte is actually a pretty cool little town. Home of Buffalo Bill. We didn't go to the Buffalo Bill museum or his house. I guess we went to this little thing right off the freeway. That's been there since like the 60s or 50s. It was kind of fun. But we were just so tired from traveling. We got a Applebee's burger and we just went to the hotel and stayed the night. This hotel was actually kind of fun. It was probably built in the 50s, and it was kind of like it was all like well taken care of. Other than the pool, there was no water in the pool, which I don't care. I don't swim. But the hotel was actually kind of nostalgic. It was pretty cool. Not like Dumb and Dumber sit in the heart-shaped hot tub nostalgic, but it was fun. It was a good hotel. The people there were really they were really friendly and accommodating. They were awesome. And after the disgusting hotel, the shower felt amazing in a clean, usable shower that I wasn't worried about getting some kind of a needle or something jumping out of the drain at my feet. It was nice. It was a nice hotel. I don't remember the name of that one either, but I would endorse that hotel again. It was. I mean, it wasn't like 5-star super fancy, but it was probably super fancy for North Platte. So there's that. It was a good hotel. So we stayed the night in North Platte. We go get dinner at a place called Penny's Diner, which is probably run down and gross, but I actually enjoyed it. I like a good gross diner. There's nothing like a greasy diner burger and Flo serving this food. So it was a good time. Still, I mean, it was not like a fancy restaurant by any means, but it was cool. It was right there on the side of the highway. So we get going from North Platte. It's off to Iowa, and I was shocked at how green. Like once you get out of Nebraska, which isn't like dead brown color, but once you go from, it's like, I swear it's the state line from Nebraska to Iowa. It's like green trees, grass. It was beautiful. Like Iowa is a very pretty state. I could live there. I love trees. I love green, and it was pretty. Other than tornadoes, I guess that particular part of Iowa has had a high concentration of tornadoes this year, so that was kind of a downer. But it was cool, and there's it was just east of North Platte, maybe 20 miles. There's this, and you guys may have seen it already. There's this huge arch that's built over the freeway. It kind of looks like an old fort, but out of steel. And I should have stopped. I think there's actually a gift shop that's attached to it. It's just super cool. It's super neat. And then, you get into Omaha, which was nothing special. Every time I think of Omaha, I hear in my head Tom T. Hall's song, Convoy. I don't know if you guys like that old kind of country music, but yeah, so that every time I hear Omaha, I think of Omaha. What they're gonna know what to do with them hogs in Omaha. Anyway, so we drive through Omaha, which is far bigger than I expected. Didn't stop. I didn't want to stop. We had a schedule to keep, and so we just kept plowing through. So Omaha and then Des Moines, which there's a lot of construction between those places. Super boring. Lots of green, lots of trees. So I told you I live in Southeast Idaho. So like the medians between the highway system or off either side of the road on the highway system, it's kind of like here is kind of just dead grass and garbage and it's just not real pretty. But those places between Omaha and Grinnell, actually, it's like grass and they mow it and it's nice. There's no trash on the side of the freeways. Whoever's doing the whole adopt a highway thing, they're doing their job. It's pretty. It's quite nice. Really humid. I didn't expect that until I got out of the car to stop at a rest stop. It was like, it hits in your face and you're like, surprise. And it was kind of warm. So you get the humidity. And I've lived in high humid areas. I lived in Australia, so hot and humid. Wasn't quite like that, but it was far more humid than here in Idaho. So we get to North Platte. We get to Grinnell, Iowa. We roll in. This hotel was kind of meh. I'm not going to tell you which hotel it was, but it was average, a little nicer than a Motel 6. Probably a lot nicer than a Motel 6, but nothing like, super amazing. But it was a good deal. and I was saving money, like I said. But this time, I was not compromising my security. I felt far more safe in the last 2 hotels than hotel number 1. I just still can't tell you how bad that place was. It was so bad, so bad. All right. So where are we at here? So that would be Thursday night by the time we all get here. I hope you guys are enjoying this story. So Thursday night, we roll into Grinnell. Like, Brownells is literally right there on the side of the highway. You cannot miss the building. It is huge, and we were stoked. So we roll off. We get to our hotel room. There's a dinner Thursday night for content creators. So my son and I, we kind of just clean up, change our shirts, gussy up a little bit, and we head over to Brownells. And it was awesome. Like, super awesome. There was a lot of big names there that, so my intent of going was to kind of network and get to know some other content creators and kind of develop my skills, right? But I was basically like almost, I wouldn't say starstruck, but I felt like a little fish in a really big pond. That's probably the best way to put it. So I felt really inferior, so I didn't really talk to as many people as I should have. And that's my fault. I got to get over that fear. But we did connect with some really cool people. I'll post some of the stuff up here a little bit later on some videos. Hopefully I can get them linked. And by the way, the GunCon, they hired actually some video people, and they sent me a bunch, like hours and hours of footage, like B-roll footage that they said, hey, go ahead and use it. You're good, use it. So there should be a lot of stuff I can just kind of throw in and mix in here so you can see what's up. Anyway, so that Thursday night, there's a little pizza party in the parking lot of Brownells, and I mean, there's some pretty cool people there. But we just kind of sat at our own table, and why can't I remember the name of this company? They're super cool. Anyway, this company's owned by a couple of sisters. They make a detachable buffer tube system that's actually super, super rad. They sat down, we hung out, and we talked and had a good time. It was a lot of fun. And you know, passed out some patches and talked about the podcast a little bit. It was cool. It was fun. And then Friday was just media day. It was range day, and we were absolutely excited to get out at a range. And I'll post pictures of the range. Like, it is amazing. I don't think Brownells owns this range. I think it's privately owned, like a member range. But I think Brownells probably pitches in a lot of money for this range. It's an outdoor range, and it is beautiful. It's out in the middle of these cornfields. Like, you got to take all these roads to get there. And then it's just a farmhouse with a gate. You're like, okay, whatever. And you pull in through this gate, and it drops down in this valley, kind of like a wadi almost. It drops down in this little river valley, and I mean, it's beautiful. It's just so beautiful, so green. The problem with Friday was it was gonna rain, and it had already kind of drizzled a little bit, but you can power through the rain, right? I thought. So we get there early, actually. I like being early. So we get there early. They let us kind of hang out. They have, it's like a big event tent, you know, those great big tents you can rent. So we just kind of hung out under there and talked to some folks. Amentu Mag was there, so I'm friends with those guys. And we just chatted and talked about some new stuff that they're coming out with, which there's some cool stuff that they're coming out with, by the way. And you know, just kind of mingled with the people that we know. And then before the event started, I got to meet a few other folks, like the 2A boys, and shout out to the 2A boys. The mom and dad and the 2 boys were there. Super awesome. Man, they're going to be on the show, by the way. Super, super awesome. Great people. And met some other folks there and hung out. So we do the safety brief, which I understand because, you know, I've done that kind of stuff kind of a long safety brief because there's a lot of people there, and we don't want any accidents, obviously. And then we start shooting. We start checking out some new products. There's a lot of cool stuff. I'm gonna kind of bracket this right now. So I took a lot of video with my phone and with a camcorder that I bought specifically for GunCon. The great thing is once I reviewed all that footage, zero of the camcorder footage is useful. No sound. I don't know what happened. There's zero. I had a shotgun mic hooked to it, so it just didn't work. No sound whatsoever. So I missed out on some really important interviews. I felt they were important, and some other like content about new shotguns and like Beretta shotguns, not Beretta, but Beretta, which was the parent company of Benelli, I guess, or an offshoot of Benelli. They have some sweet shotguns, by the way, and they're far less expensive, but they're sweet. So there was some stuff. I talked to those guys that I wish I would have got. I can show you just the video and then just make up what he's saying. I suppose I could do that. But we got to shoot a bunch of different guns, like those shotguns. Vector was there. Chris and Dave from Vector. Those guys are actually pretty sweet. I need to get those guys on the show because what they're doing with ARs is pretty amazing. Just picture LWRC, only efficient and better. With their short stroke piston system is pretty sweet. I hung out with the Wilson Combat guys actually quite a bit. Mike at Wilson Combat was an absolute gentleman. He was so cool. We connected really, really well, Mike and I. So I'd like to get him on the show. I don't know if it'll happen. He is a stud and a half. And a few other people. It was just a good time until it rained, and it rained started raining about 11 o'clock, I guess, and it rained for like 2.5 hours. Now I'm not talking drizzle. We're talking thunder and lightning and wind and just a deluge of water. Like they had to shut down the range. Nobody could shoot. We just hung out under the big circus tent for 2.5 hours, which wasn't too bad. We got to talk to some other people. It was still a good time. Anyway, once that rain let up, it's time to go shoot again. But like I said, we lost 2.5 hours of good, solid content creation and visiting with folks. I wish I could remember their name, their company. I'll edit it in. I don't know if I got. Oh, here it is. Yeah, Stern Defense. These guys right here. I know I had some of their literature. So they do like. Let me grab this other thing so I can show you. I'll put some video in there. I'm pretty sure I have some B-roll footage of their stuff. But they're making, I don't know if you can see it. You can't really see it from there. So what it is there's this buffer tube setup system that they have. It's like a tri-lug adapter. You hook your buffer tube into the lug. It clicks into your receiver super fast. It retains your buffer so it doesn't come flying out. It also keeps the bolt from flying out the back. Ingenious idea, super fast, super rad, actually. A lot of fun. They also make these little magazine well adapters for your ARs, so you can get them in, I think it's Smith, SIG, and Glock mags. It's super cool. Stern Defense. Those are the gals. They're a couple sisters. Super cool. In fact, they had and I guess they did it last year. They had a contest to who could put 3 of those things together and rattle off 3 rounds as fast as possible. And I'm not going to brag, but I'm going to brag. I held the fastest time almost the entire day. So to put 3 of them things together and rattle off 3 rounds, and you had to hit the steel 3 rounds in a row, ding, 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 at, I think it was 15 feet. It wasn't too far. Maybe 20 feet. Anyway, so I was there like 10.09 seconds, and I held that almost the entire event until, until Puvu showed up and some of his homies, and it was like a battle. Boom. Like they were chopping off seconds back and forth, and he took he was like 9.7 something, and then I chopped it down to like 9.3, and then he came back, and like we just went back and forth. He ended up winning. Only because like my very last round, because it like we were the last shooters of range day between Puvio and I. So if I would have just finished my entire drill, like I had an issue with my magazine, I probably would have been about 2 seconds faster than him. But I gave up because I thought the clock had already run past the 9 seconds. But the dude was like, "You were at 6 seconds. You would have won." Oh well, it was so much fun, and Santi, Tactical Santi was there too. Like I got to hang out with those guys. Like he is super cool, like super chill. I totally expected between him and PV like being super arrogant, but they were super cool actually. Anyway, so that was Friday, and then we had that night we had a VIP dinner. So I wore my suit jacket that I took to look fancy with my retro rifle shirts, which I wish I could get more of those retro. We need to talk. But now let's go back to the disgusting hotel room. Because of that smelly ass hotel room, it made my suit jacket smell so bad. I still wore it. I mean, there's people smoking cigars and stuff, so I was like, oh, it'll get kind of camouflaged out by the smell, which it did for the most part, and I didn't notice it, how bad it was, really, honestly, until I got home and I was pulling all my dirty laundry out, and I unzipped my bag, and I'm like, oh, those are not dirty socks. That is the smell of a raunchy hotel room. It was so bad, dude. Did I tell you that hotel room was bad? Anyway, so VIP dinner, we hung out almost exclusively with the dudes from Wilson Combat. And I'm telling you, those guys are super cool. They were so much fun to be around. We had a good time. We talked like we were just homies, chilling like we knew each other for a long time. Super cool people. It was a lot of fun. Had some questions answered about some Wilson Combat stuff. It was cool, and Wilson's coming out with some really neat stuff. I know you always think about 1911 and quality 1911 parts, but they're making precision ARs and bolt guns and suppressor. I had no idea that these guys were making suppressors, and like, yeah, we've been making them for like 5 years. I had no clue. And we shot some of their guns, and I am telling you, the precision in their handguns are being put into the precision of their rifles. I was very impressed, and extremely lightweight. We have Seekins here in Idaho, which make, I think it's the Havoc and, some of those other rifles, which are really, really light. I mean, these Wilson's rifles are extremely light as well. They're not under the name Wilson. I can't remember the name of what they're under. It's still a Wilson product, so it's quality stuff. I was really impressed. And honestly, like, you have a 3-pound hunting rifle, and then you put a can on there and your optic, it's probably even lighter than that. I don't even know. It's probably the metric system for all I know, but it's really, like, for the price you're paying for the whole setup. It's expensive. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but it really wasn't like astronomical either. So I was pleasantly surprised with the stuff from Wilson. Some other cool stuff that we saw at the range day. Like I said, we saw the Vector, the shotguns, the Beretta. I can't remember. It's a weird name. It sounds like Beretta, but it's not Beretta. It's Breda, like sandwich bread. Breda is the brand. Radian is coming out with some cool stuff. They have a muzzle brake for your Gen 5 Glocks, which they're pretty sweet. I got to mess with that a little bit. Some full auto stuff. Obviously, you got to have full auto stuff. There's some pretty cool stuff out there. Anyway, but the problem was, like, now I can't show you the interviews and things that we did. Specifically, I have to use the B-roll from the Gun Collective. So I'm kind of bummed that, it is what it is. Anyway, so that was Friday. Friday was a good day. It was a lot of fun. It was a long day. Spending all day at a range is exhausting. Maybe some of you guys know that. It does, no matter how much fun you're having, and you don't realize how fatigued you are until you get home, take your shoes off, and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm drained. And that's the way Friday was for us. It was fun. It was a ton of fun. Saturday was the day that was open to everybody. And again, my son and I, we got there super early. Like, I think it was opened at 10. We got there at like 9. I mean, what are you gonna do? I didn't want to sit in my hotel room. I wanted to take every opportunity possible. So we get there at early. You know, but there's people still, vendors and manufacturers are still coming in, trying to figure out, you know, how to set up their booths and whatever. So at first we were just kind of wandering around like a couple of slugs. I'm like, you know what? Like, why are we wasting time like not interacting? So we started helping people set up their booths. Like Amentu, we helped them set up their booth. It was a good time. I think it wasn't LMT, one of those other companies like that. We helped them set up their booth. You know, we did everything we could to help out, and it was actually kind of fun. It was fun to talk to these guys, kind of get them off balance of what they're used to. It was just cool. It was just cool to hang out. And then once it got open to the public, like, I will show you the videos of like the line before the doors opened. And again, Brownells is a huge building. The whole warehouse isn't open. Like, they didn't clear out everything out of the warehouse for GunCon. So it was maybe a quarter of the building. So it was maybe 200 yards long, probably not quite that, 150 yards long by 100 yards wide. And that was all set up with booth space and some chairs to do some live panels. Maybe you saw some of the live things that they did during GunCon. It was fun. It was cool. And it really frustrates me because I got some awesome interviews, like with Adam Kraut. I had a good conversation with Adam Kraut. I think it's Travis with FARC, had a good time with them. Gun Owners of America, I had a good conversation with Stephen Rutherford. It was like, or Williford, I mean. So there was some good content that went out the window. Another one was Vertex. Luckily, I got some B-roll footage on my phone about their new fanny pack, which is freaking dope. I don't care what you think about fanny packs. You can call them stupid or gay or whatever. This thing is off the chain rad. It is super cool. I don't care what you say about fanny packs. I would absolutely, in fact, I probably will buy one. That is one I would carry. Absolutely. The Vertex fanny pack. It's dope. Like, it's super cool. They're making some concealed carry shirts, which are pretty dang rad as well. And there's some other really cool stuff out there, which I'll try and dig through what videos I do have. It was cool. It was a ton of fun. We stayed. Initially, I wasn't. We were gonna just stay till Saturday night and then drive home, nonstop. So, stupid idea. So Saturday morning before we came over to GunCon, the hotel was technically booked out solid, but I was able to convince the gal at the desk to let us stay Saturday night, which I am so glad I did, because we were super tired. There was a dinner again after that. No, was there? No, there wasn't. But we just kind of chilled and hung out for a little while, and then went home to the hotel and crashed. Right, it was so tired. It was a long 3-day weekend, nonstop. So then Sunday morning, yeah, we drive home. We left at 7:00 Iowa time, which would be 6:00 my hometown time, and nonstop. Like I said, it was almost 2 a.m. by the time we got back. I did take a slight detour. There's a Buc-ee's in Johnsontown, Colorado. I wanted to go to Buc-ee's, and they just opened one, and so we stopped at Buc-ee's and got some beaver nuggets and a brisket sandwich, which was, oh my gosh, so good. I'm glad for the 1 hour detour. It was worth it to Buc-ee's just to say I've been there, just say we've been there. So yeah, I think it's just outside of Fort Collins. So yeah, Buc-ee's, and then back home all the way. Like I said, it added at least an hour to the trip. And the thing is, you got to understand when you're driving that long, first of all, normally you get super, super tired, right? Like, you're just sitting in the same position for so long. I may or may not have had a couple of rock stars. Not at the same, I didn't shotgun 2 in a row, so just chill out. but every few hours, 7 or 8 hours, pop another one, just to keep you awake. But the problem is once you get uh, basically to Colorado. Oh, by the way, so like going through I-80 and then like west and then cutting into Colorado instead of staying in Wyoming, like how do people live there? Like I thought eastern Wyoming was terrible, but eastern Colorado sucks. Like how do you, if you're from eastern Colorado and you live in that barren wasteland that you call Colorado, like that John Denver's full of shit, man. Like there's nothing there until you get, to central Colorado where the mountains are. Like it was like 50-mile-an-hour winds, crosswinds, and nothing. It oh, God bless you if you live there, because it was terrible. That was like that was borderline Casper Hotel terrible. Like it was stupid. Anyway, so once you get into the mountains, like where there's deer and moose and elk, and you understand, because I've driven a lot at night through the mountains, so it starts about sundown and later. That's when these animals, like, they kind of migrate towards the road systems. I was told that they kind of think that the road noise is like water, so they're migrating to water. I think that's not true, but in the case of like Hoback, the Hoback Junction, that is the Snake River, and so they probably are going to the river to get a drink. And I probably would have been home an hour earlier, but where it was like midnight and you're driving through here, like steep mountains on one side and kind of a steep drop off into the river. I took my time. My son was sleeping. There was actually quite a few elk and deer hanging out by the side of the road. And so obviously I slowed way down because I didn't want to hit a large animal in my 4Runner. So, but it was still nice. It was still pretty. Like you could see the stars. It was bright enough that, you could see the stars. Not that I was just gazing at the stars while I was driving, but it was pretty. It was a pretty drive home, even though it was dark and I couldn't see anything. I could imagine what it was like because I've driven that enough. But it was fun. It was a good time. I was going to say something, wasn't I? And I forgot what I was going to tell you. Nonetheless, would I go again to GunCon? Yes, I would. Would I fly to GunCon? I don't know. It was kind of fun to drive and make an experience. Initially, the idea was to take my whole family and drive the distance and kind of sightsee and have some fun, which we probably could have done on the way there. But it would be like a 2-week vacation to go there and back, basically. So I don't know. And my daughters and my wife would not have had fun at GunCon. I don't think they would have enjoyed it at all. And as you might imagine, there's not a lot to do in Grinnell, Iowa, in June, at the end of June. So I don't know if they would have had so much fun. There's not like a shopping mall. I mean, there's a Walmart, which I guess you could go look at the people at Walmart. But you can only do that once, right? You can't just go back to Walmart because you just see the same people over and over again. And maybe you're the anomaly that's being watched, by the way. So I'm glad that they didn't come just for the sake of they would have been super bored. And hell hath no fury, like 4 girls complaining that there's nothing to do. So that was out of the question, which worked out in our favor because my son is a lot like me. In fact, if you listen to the show where I interview my son, we sound exactly the same, except for he's a little less animated. Anyway, it was a good time. I would totally go again, and I probably would drive again. Flying would be easier, honestly, but the thing about driving, not only do you get to carry more luggage with you, you get to see the country. Like, you get to have the experience that our parents may have had when they were kids going on vacations, right? There's so much to see in America that we take for granted. Like, life is so rush, go here, go there, on demand. We miss out on reality. So I'm glad that we drove. It was a little expensive by the time it was all said and done. I filled a lot of fuel in the car by the time it was all said and done. Honestly, as far as eating, we didn't really eat that much, other than, like I said, Brownells and GunCon. Like, they fed us well. It was awesome. They took care of the content creators, which was super cool. They actually cared about us. It felt really good, honestly, to be appreciated for the things that we do. Not that what I do is necessarily hard. Like, it's more fun than anything, but it does get a little difficult sometimes, and we'll get into that in a minute. But it was a good time. All in all, I'm glad I took my son on a crazy ass drive across the country, crappy hotel rooms and all. It was totally worth it. I did learn, like I said, not to compromise my security for a couple bucks. I'm glad nothing happened that I would have regretted. But it was cool. It was also really, really good to be in a place where there's a lot of pro freedom people in one spot. People that are like-minded, people that understand that the Second Amendment is far more than keeping and bearing arms, but keeping and bearing freedom. Like, it was so good to be around these people, and to meet new people, and to be energized by everybody else's vigor. It was so much fun. It was fun. I would totally do it again. I would and will be taking better equipment next go round. That being said, I told you I was going to talk about kind of the hard things about content creation. I had a very hard time coming up with what I was going to talk about tonight in this show. Like, it was weighing me down. It was really frustrating. I guess you could call it writer's block. Same kind of thing. I got a drink here. It was tough for me for some reason. Tougher than it has been for a while. But I'm glad I was able to share this experience with you. Talking about the equipment and the travel costs and that kind of stuff, I really want to give you guys the best possible content that I can. And getting out there, thinking I had things in order, and then seeing how things didn't work out like I thought they would, like they should have, was really disappointing to me. Uh, and maybe I shouldn't even bring this up. I set up a way to help support the show a different way, and if you really appreciate what we do here at the podcast, I have a GoFundMe. I'll just spit it out. Like, there's a way to help support the show. I'm not monetized. I don't make money on content. I'm just not big enough. It just doesn't exist. But in order for me, I feel like, to get to the next place I need to be, a couple things. It costs money, and I need to see that you guys appreciate the content that's being shared. I don't know any other way to put that. That's the first reason for the GoFundMe. The second reason is a little bit more problematic, and maybe it's not even an issue, but it makes me worried. Like, there's some, I wouldn't say some legal stuff that's popped up, but there's been some rumblings that, not necessarily attack on the show, but a way I could see the show could be attacked, I guess is the best way to put it. And I need to resolve that, and it costs a substantial amount of money. So that's the reason why I set up the GoFundMe. One was really initially for fortifying the show, protecting the show and its content a little bit better, and the equipment. SHOT Show's coming up. I was hoping to get some things figured out before then. Like, SHOT Show's in January, so we got about 6 months. If you're willing to help out the show, that'd be totally cool. If not, it's not a big deal. I totally get it. It's been a really hard year for everybody. And a couple bucks would be great. If not, I don't care. Honestly, supporting the show by sharing it with your friends is honestly awesome. And that's probably even enough. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. it makes me feel awkward asking for money. I don't know. I guess that's just the way it is. But if you do like the show, if you appreciate what I do here on the Range Minded podcast, leave a comment, share it with your friends. That subscribe to the channel. That kind of stuff helps me pop up more often in like the For You feeds. And that makes a difference. Okay, that is appreciated a lot more than you guys might actually think. Especially if you don't create content, it doesn't make any sense to you. The algorithms have changed a lot on like YouTube, and TikTok is a freaking nightmare. So more interaction I can get, and me interacting with you, because I like I'll reply to comments as often as I can. That makes a difference for the show too, because that gets it in front of more eyes. So I appreciate even that. If you can do that, that is fantastic. Patches, still got a few of these left. I gave away a few at GunCon. There's some new patches coming out. I think I'm going to change the way that I sell patches. I think I'm actually going to set up an eBay store, whatever you want to call it, for the podcast. I don't want to do Etsy. I know there's a lot of folks that do it that way. I don't want to deal with Etsy and their BS. I already have some stuff on eBay, so I figured, maybe I'll just set up an eBay store. It might be easier. So tell me what you think about that, if you think that's easier or not. Otherwise, in the meantime, you can just DM me on any of the socials, whether it be X, Twitter or X. I'm at Range Minded. Instagram is Range Minded Podcast. Facebook is Range Minded Podcast. TikTok is Range Minded Podcast. I have a Truth Social account. I don't ever use it. It's stupid, honestly. YouTube, Range Minded Podcast. You can comment through there. I'm on Rumble, but nobody else seems to be on Rumble other than people trying to create content. I like Rumble, honestly. But, people have to be there to watch those videos. If you're on Rumble, just follow and comment, and I'll comment back. Anyway, if you want some merch, whatever, let's get it figured out. It's all good. I'm working on some other stuff. Made some good contacts at GunCon for some other cool stuff that's not legal in all 50 states. If that should kind of perk your ears up. So some cool stuff that will be coming out. That would be in extreme limited quantities, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. I did hint to it a week ago. But anyway, there's that. Anyways, guys, I truly appreciate you guys more than you know. The Second Amendment is under constant attack. And I know I talk about a lot of the news stuff, and sometimes that just brings me down when I do all the research and we listen to the court filings and we go through the Supreme Court rulings and we kind of dissect that stuff. I do enjoy that kind of stuff, but it kind of brings me down. And I feel like that kind of brings you down because it's just so much. It's just so much. So I'm going to be working on some more fun content, visiting with some of these other content creators and see the things they do. I want to do some more fun stuff with the show. So that's going to be coming too. In fact, I have a video in my head, and I mean, there's 5 boxes of ammunition here that I specifically set aside for that video. I just need to do it. And so that's the way it's going to be. Just got to get out there and do it. Anyways, you guys rock. Take somebody shooting. The Second Amendment is one vote away from being lost. This year is obviously an election year. Unless your head is buried in the sand, you know how crazy it's been. Be involved. Be involved in your community. Be involved in your local gun rights groups. If you can get involved in GOA or FRAC or any of these other gun rights groups, do it. Be involved as much as possible. I know it's expensive, but honestly, some of these groups, you can donate a quarter and they'd be absolutely happy with it. But we have to be engaged. We have to do our part to save our freedoms for our children and grandchildren, or they're going to hold us responsible. And I don't want to be held responsible for not doing what I feel like needs to be done. So let's be involved. We just went through the 4th of July. Obviously, Independence Day is huge. It is America, right? It is why we're here. Is we declared our independence from a tyrannical government with its thumb and boot on our throat. We can't lose that American spirit. We need to keep it, and it's worth fighting for. Freedom isn't free. Uh, it's expensive, but our forefathers found a reason for it, and they wanted it for us, and we need to want that for the next generation. That's why it's so important to take somebody shooting, get your family involved in the firearms community. It's a safe and very welcoming community. Like once you get involved, honestly, outside of the gun range, it feels a little but when you get into the bigger circle of the 2A community, it's just one big family, and it's awesome. And if you ever want to come shooting with me, let me know. If you're ever in the area, let's go shooting. Let's have some fun. I think it'd be rad. Okay, that's where I'm going to end. Appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Take somebody shooting. Be safe. See you guys.